Fueled by Deathcast.
Do you remember the first time you actually saw a wrestling match or maybe saw wrestling on TV or something? Do you remember that?
It was for sure. I was with my dad. I was with my dad the first time watching TV. It was like a Sunday morning or something like that. And then that was kind of I think that's where I fell in love with wrestling. That was our bond, was my dad and I's bond with my sisters and I. So, and then they would cut to commercial break and then we would all try to wrestle and we would all gang up on our dad,
Oh yeah.
Obviously we always won.
Oh yeah.
But then, yeah.
I have a similar story. I started watching, my dad kind of watched it a little bit, but then I watched it a lot more. And then I got grounded because I tried to top rope my stuffed animals off the couch and broke the couch. So it was a bad idea.
No wrestling in the house.
Yeah, no wrestling in the house. So when did it actually come to a point in your life where you were like, I want to pursue this? Because I know you went through a lot of training before you actually started wrestling professionally. When did you have a watershed moment in your life where you were like, I want to pursue this as a career?
I think, we say it when I'll be, I want to be a wrestler when I grow up. As a kid, you say these things and it's just like, I said I was going to be a movie star. I was going to be a singer. I'm going to be all these things.
Right.
Hey, it may still be, you don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I think it was one of those moments where I was out of high school. I didn't go to college. I was working in a bar. I was really at these crossroads of moments in your life where I'm going okay, well, what am I going to do with my life? I don't really know. And I'd fallen out of being a wrestling fan through high school and everything else, but I'd fallen back into it because it really was such a hot time of the wrestling business. It was the Attitude Era. It was cool to be a wrestling fan. Wrestling was cool. They were doing and saying all the things that you wanted to do in real life and say in real life, but just couldn't. So you just vicariously lived through them, so it was just, and so I think I was working there and then a buddy of mine who was one of the bouncers or whatever at the bar. And he's like, my buddy has a wrestling school. It's closer to DC, like Manassas. And I was like, I had no idea. I assumed that when you said, I've just assumed that they found these people, because to me, I was still like, these are larger than life superstars. These are people who are they're superhuman kind of thing. Just like you would find, the bearded lady for the circus. It was just one of those things. Maybe there was a particular scout that went out and found these folks, or I didn't really know. So the idea that there's a wrestling school where you actually learn how to wrestle, how to cut these promos, how to create a character or cultivate all this stuff. I was like, whoa, it blew my mind. So of course I went and I checked it out and I signed up that day and I've been doing it ever since.
It's one thing to start practicing, to start training, to start doing all that. But then in front of thousands of people and having to mentally check yourself, not only to know all the stuff you're supposed to do, but also be in character. How do you do that? How do you hone that mental capacity?
So I feel like I try to separate it. I mean, me backstage, Mickie James, unless that hopefully, there's certain elements. I'm a goof. I goof around. I joke. I love to play. I'm a kid at heart. It keeps you young in your soul and I love it. But at the same time, that there's a art to being able to turn something on when the camera's on or as soon as you walk out through the curtain. And you have to be able to know that character inside and out. And really, I do almost like a book report. It's the silliest thing. And I learned this from Dawn Marie told me. I've done for pretty much every character or every stage of a character I've changed and modified. But for me, I'm from the psycho character to the hardcore country character, which is pretty just much me. So that was easy. But I had to define who she was, where she came from, what music does she like, what is she into, what's caused her to be so angry or whatever, why does she chose wrestling, all these elements of who Mickie James, that character is. So that way I could be her thoughtlessly, be able to turn that on and just be in that moment. So then I wasn't acting, I was just reacting as that character would react in that moment. Not as Mickie James playing the character of Mickie James reacting in that moment. Because that is that veil that you have to erase. That's where you become so comfortable in that element that because it really isn't the moves that you do. It's the in-between moments, in between what you do when you're doing it. Those are the things that make me know whether you believe who that character is or not. If you have that conviction, because you then effortlessly immediately know and feel that moment. And even I struggle with, like, we all professionals or not, we're not perfection. We are not, so even I get irritated at myself pretty much at least once a match for something that I've done or not done.